Do you want to talk about The Last of Us?
Have you seen it?
No.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you my full attention. I don't want to hear any shit about like Frankie was on his phone while EJ was talking about The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell me about this show.
It's good. I mean, I've never played the video games. In fact, I don't like games with stories.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I've certainly never been taken by one.
Like, I don't want to be playing a game and then being like, I have to put down my controller and just like watch like a subpar movie, like played by like a motion captured like game designers or whatever. But and voiced by like you'll recognize like voices from like kids cartoons and stuff like that. No, I'm not into those kind of cinematic games, and so Last of Us, I saw it. I was like, oh, I saw like people were talking about it at the time. This was like 2008, 2009, where like
I remember we had like a LAN party at my work, and everybody was playing. They were playing Last of Us, and they were playing what's that other game? Like the big kind of cartoonish character bodies, and it's like a first-person shooter. God, I don't know. It's such a famous game too. Anyway.
Oh, Gears of War.
No, that's not it. Anyway, I'll think of it.
I don't know. Anyway, so The Last of Us. I saw it. It was during that time where like cynical zombie things were just getting churned out all the time. Like the couple years later, The Walking Dead came out. It's in the same vein.
Yep.
Yeah, so I wasn't too interested at the time, and they've remastered it like several times since then, and I still haven't picked it up. I don't know, maybe it's just I'm stuck in my ways. But I saw HBO was doing a prestige version of it, by the guy who did Chernobyl. Chernobyl's like one of the best television events miniseries I've seen, like probably ever. Yeah, ever.
Wasn't the girl from Last of Us kind of modeled after Ellen Page from the time?
Close. The actress who it was modeled after looks a lot like Ellen Page. And there was controversy because they were like, oh, you modeled this after Ellen Page, but you didn't pay the rights to her. But if you look at the actress that they modeled it at, she just looks like Ellen Page. Like, it's like, what are you going to do? But she was like really big during that time. You remember Juno just came out, and so I'm sure people were. She was just more in the zeitgeist than like a bit TV actor. Anyway, because the actress that the Last of Us, she was in like Westworld. It's Elliot Page now, I guess. Don't want to dead name Elliot, I guess. Anyway, so Last of Us, the TV series, that I was interested in it just because, as soon as they start throwing prestige money at stuff and put it on HBO, it's gonna make me interested.
And you're always kind of rooting for HBO.
Yeah, because if when movies are not doing that great, and Disney Plus has shovelware, you want something with some passion behind it, some good acting behind it. Usually they get the best actors. They got Pedro Pascal. He's usually good. I mean, you think about Pedro Pascal, he's been in like The Mandalorian, which is a hit, Game of Thrones, which is a hit, and now he's going to be in this.
This guy will say yes to anything.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry, I figured out the game, by the way. The cartoony, it was Team Fortress 2.
Oh yes, Team Fortress 2. Yes, I get. Yeah, okay. You were on your phone, were you?
No, not me. I needed to know because somebody was listening, going Team Fortress 2, and they needed to hear me say it in real time.
I wasn't into that game either because I'm not a multiplayer guy. It's mostly multiplayer.
You don't like memes.
I don't like memes. I don't like multiplayer.
I'm with you, brother. I don't like multiplayer. I don't like story. I don't like much of anything, really.
Well, with my games, I just want to play Mario and that's it.
House of the Dead with the cool thing.
That's it. And I like to play Zelda, but I like to jam through the text boxes. And So The Last of Us, Pedro Pascal, he's good. He's serviceable in most things. I wouldn't say he's amazing, but he's got some charisma to him. So
Is
it
it
was
just
kind of
Walking Dead, EJ? That's what I see it, and I'm like, I don't need another Walking Dead.
yes. I mean, that's my impression so far. Unfortunately, like the first episode has a really strong start. Like they open up with like this like talk show in the 60s where they're talking about how like, oh, fungus could like be a worse pandemic than anything else because there would be no vaccines for it. And then it cuts to it's 2003, and so it's normal. There's nothing happening yet. And then you follow Pedro Pascal's daughter as I think this is ripped like shot for shot from the game from a certain point, the intro to the game, which is kind of weird. It's like, so are you just gonna like remake the game but just take out all the gameplay? I don't know. I haven't played the game, so I don't know. But it kind of does feel a little like a cutscene from a video game. I don't know if that's just because I know it's adapting a game or anyway.
This is not a ringing endorsement.
It's not. But the beginning is interesting. Like the way it kind of is like remember the Dawn of the Dead remake where chaos just starts ensuing?
Yeah.
So it has some like a very compelling intro like that where it starts off normal. You think things are normal, and then you over the course of the beginning, things start to feel wrong, and things are on the news that are like, oh, something fucked up's happening, and you see like ambulances going by, but this girl doesn't know that everything's screwed up yet, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. It's a very effective beginning. It's very tense. It's shot really well. There's a car chase sequence that reminds me of the car chase sequence from Hawkeye. Remember where they do the whipping camera
good.
around and stuff?
Yeah.
It's very, very well done beginning of the ensuing chaos of the incident, and then they cut 20 years later, and that's where things start to slow down a lot. And you're trying to get a pace for the post-apocalyptic world 20 years later, and it's very grimdark. It's very nihilistic. It reminds me of The Walking Dead. I didn't think it was particularly shot very artistically in the pilot. Like it felt pretty flat to me, and I thought some of the performances were a little flat, and I thought the pacing was strange. But then the second episode, I think it ramped it up way the second episode was way better. Like it was more cohesive. The first one kind of felt like they were just like introducing a ton of stuff like haphazardly. The structure was weird. The pacing was weird. It felt like they were just kind of trying to shove all that stuff in there so you get it. And then the second one felt like an episode of television. It felt like a very tight hour, where they're trying to get from like point A to point B in the city. It's kind of funny because it takes place in Boston. So they green screen a bunch of Boston landmarks. So it's always fun to see.
That's cool.
Like post-apocalyptic Boston. And they're trying to get to the State House, and so you see the Golden Dome in the distance. It's cute. I mean, it's the geography is totally fucked up. It's not really Boston, but it's interesting, and so it's fun to see that. There's very little Dunkin' Donuts though, so they got that totally wrong. No Dunkin' Donuts. No post-apocalyptic dunks.
What a missed opportunity for a corporate crossover.
And so the basic story is that Pedro Pascal, he has this girl, which is played by Bella Ramsey. She played like what did she play? She played Lady Mormont, the young Mormont in Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yep.
Yeah, she was like kind of the bratty like ruler of the Mormonts.
Did she age? Because she looks like she would age freakishly.
A little bit, but she works. She's a very talented actress because I think she has an accent, but she's doing an American accent here.
Bella Ramsey,
and but she's good. She's great. She's very charismatic.
Yeah, she doesn't look that weird.
And Pedro Pascal is very, obviously he's very charismatic. And the lady from Fringe is in these first two episodes. And what's her name? Thor something. No, which was her
Lady
name?
from Fringe. Is on my
Was her-
Google.
Do it.
Anna Torv.
Anna Torv. Anna Torv. I was thinking Thor, Torv. Anna Torv. She was really good in Fringe, and she's great here. And so there's it's great performances. The second one actually had better visuals than the first episode. They did a lot with and then they introduced the zombie characters, which are more like fungus related creatures. They're very interesting. And they
So the concept
do-
is that you couldn't vaccinate because it's not viral, because it's bacterial.
Yeah, it's fungal, so you can't kill fungus with like
Right.
antibiotics, and you can't vaccinate it.
Oh,
'cause
right,
it's-
of course, yeah.
So so they come up with systems to like, like quarantine and stuff like that, and they can't treat it. But and then Bella Ramsey's character has developed an immunity, so she gets bitten and she doesn't get infected, and so she becomes kind of like a hot commodity that Pedro Pascal has to deliver to some scientists somewhere.
She's the MacGuffin.
She's the MacGuffin, but she's like also a really good character. So if you're gonna make a MacGuffin, it's better that it's a character, I guess. And so that's the story so far. So he's bringing her from point A to point B.
You know
nihilistic
how after
survival.
9/11, suddenly you couldn't really make, like, for a little while you couldn't make a movie about like a city getting leveled.
Yeah,
Because it was like too relevant. It's interesting that like after COVID, after all of the fear and anxiety around like a viral pandemic, that like 2 years later you could make a show about like, what if it was even fucking worse?
yeah.
What if
It almost feels like COVID was fake.
yeah, it feels like a fictionalized, yeah.
But anyway, but the COVID's real. I understand. But it is interesting, yeah, because they right off the bat they're talking about how they could be a pandemic, and you're like, oh, we're doing this, and it does feel kind of out of time. It feels because the before times take place in 2003, and there's like George Bush's picture on the wall and stuff. So there's
that's funny.
so you talk about 9/11, and it's like, oh, it's kind of like weird. It's like they're mixing the pandemic with 9/11. I'm interested. I think the performances and the set design and the cinematography in the second one was better. It's HBO knows how to make a good show, and the music's good. The score is very tense, and it brings you in kind of like the Chernobyl score. I'll watch it. I'll watch all of it. I'm not a fan,
But it's not quite Chernobyl quality.
Yeah, and again, I think it's just because
It's a video game.
it's a video game and it's The Walking Dead. And The Walking Dead, I think, worked at that time because we were just coming off of the Bush years, and all of the like gung ho, like America, and we're gonna beat all those terrorists, and then you get cynical human dramas after all that like rawness, and so it feels like it's this is the wrong time for this show.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we've done cynical trotting through post-apocalyptic wastelands for a decade now. I don't know if I need it, but it's a well done version of that. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah. What was that movie with Viggo Mortensen that I really enjoyed?
The Road.
The Road, yeah. Like 90 minutes is fine for me. And then after that, I'm like, because they start to have to invent crazy plot stuff.
Yeah, that's my worry is that
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we're gonna go to point A to point B, and there's gonna be these guys, and it turns out the humans are the bad guys all along.
It's just treading water. The governor, and then
The governor. Yeah, I definitely dropped off of The Walking Dead after The Governor, or during
you and
The
I,
Governor.
we wrote a cartoon that we were going to do, and then we didn't do it. But it was
It'd probably still be relevant. The Walking Dead's like is it still on?
I was just Googling that. Not that I was on my phone or anything. But I wanted to see if it was still airing, because I know they had like the final Rick Grimes episodes, but I don't know.
But I think they kept going.
There was a certain kind of finale. it looks like in 2021 was the last time they had a season. It was season 11. But the joke was that we had been following Walking Dead for like 5 seasons and the show wasn't going anywhere. And we were just like feeling like lost in the show, or like I'm only watching because I've already watched so much of it. And so it was a cartoon about letting go and deciding to not have a sunk cost fallacy about a TV show.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's. I mean, I'm watching it because it's something well made. It's got good acting, good direction, and then you're just like, okay, at least I'm watching this. But yeah, I think I could take or leave the story.
I'm looking forward to whatever next movie or show really captures my imagination. That would be really exciting. Something that I can't get my mind off of. That kind of.
Yeah,
like a
Better Call Sauls,
or like a, the Menu was pretty close.
Yeah,
it was very very enjoyable.
Yeah, the House of the Dragon I thought was like that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
So this didn't, like, House of the Dragon kind of got me right off the bat. So much so that I was like questioning myself. I was like, ugh, I didn't really enjoy the ending of Game of Thrones, but this is really getting me. But The Last of Us, I think it's well made, but it's not getting me.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.